Thank you all for tuning in to this week's Best of the Clay Edwards Show. We're going to start it off with a quick clip reminding y'all to please go donate blood to a friend of mine's family member, Grayson Foster. He's a track superstar at MC, Mississippi College right there in Canton. He was in a terrible motorcycle accident the other night and had to have a leg amputated. Here's the details. Y'all stay blessed and enjoy your weekend. Got a real quick before we jump into the Trump Elon stuff. My buddy Roger just texted in, and we got a little we are in need of blood. We have an emergency. We need blood donations for a friend that is in dire need. So if you have the ability to donate blood, listen up. I'm going to read this whole text here because I think context matters. He says, look, man, I never ask people to use our platforms for things, but this is very important and urgent. You may have seen my post about my good friend's son that was in a bad motorcycle wreck. They live right around the corner in Florida. They are in desperate need of blood. He lost 6 units of blood the other night. Can you please mention something about this? His name is Grayson Foster. He's a track superstar at Mississippi College, and sadly, he had to have his leg amputated because of this bad wreck. His Mississippi Blood Service code is EQ32. Again, let me say that again. His Mississippi Blood Service code is EQ, Edward Quintanamo. I don't know what is something that starts with Q. Letter Q, EQ32. EQ32 is his blood service, Mississippi Blood Service code. If they go and give blood, please give that code and it will give him credit for it. Does not matter blood type. Guys, if you can give blood, I highly encourage you to swing by Mississippi Blood Services today. Donate blood, and the code is EQ32. You can text me, reach out to me if you can't remember that. But write it down, please. EQ32, Grayson Foster, track superstar at Mississippi College, has been in a bad motorcycle wreck, had to have a leg amputated, and is in dire need of blood. Does not matter the blood type. So please get out there and let's lend a helping hand. Let's give out an FAFO championship real quick before we go to the break. Your FAFO champion number 1 of the day is a fella, speaking of Canton, Mississippi. This guy thought it would be a good idea to run from Gluckstadt police and run towards Canton to the criminal safe haven of Canton, Mississippi. A lot like Jackson. But contrary to mon frere, what they have in Canton is the Madison County Sheriff's Department. So let's read this real quick. Which they may or may not have anything to do with this. I hadn't even read this. I just saw the picture, and it was the first name. I saw it. I saw the amount of vowels, and I just knew guilty. Anyway, and I'm gonna try to pronounce this name, and I would love to know what his street name is, because there ain't no way in 2 blue hells that anybody actually calls this guy by his full government name. This is from darkhorsepressnow.com. Actually, both of our FAFO stories today are from Dark Horse Press and Therese Apel. It says a man named Rodriquez Tyrell Pinson. Now, how many vowels does Rodriquez have in it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 vowels in his first name. He's a serial killer, potentially. Rodriquez Tyrell Pinson was taken into custody last night in Canton, criminal safe haven, Canton, Mississippi, following a brief foot pursuit behind the Econo Lodge. Well, that's a headline you really don't ever want your name attached to. Gluckstadt police said Pinson fled on foot after abandoning a maroon Ford F350 during a pursuit with officers. Without reading any more, I'm going to go out on a limb here and bet that F350 was stolen. He was quickly located and transported to the Hilton there on 51 in Canton, a.k.a. the Madison County Detention Center. Pinson is facing multiple charges, including felony eluding, receiving stolen property, resisting arrest, improper tag, and careless driving. All right, so I will have to rescind my thoughts about the truck being stolen. I bet it wasn't his. Anyway, he's scheduled to make his initial appearance on these charges today in Gluckstadt Municipal Court. Madison County Sheriff's Office and Canton Police also helped with the arrest. That, my friends, is your first, but not only, effed around and found out grand champion of the day. The next one's going to be a white guy. That's right. It's all about equality over here. Inclusivity, equality, and diversity. We cover all the bases here on the Clay Edwards Show. We'll be right back. Live from the Men's Health and Women's Wellness Studios of Mississippi on WYAB. This is the Clay Edwards Show. The lady in Pelahatchie. I am really disappointed in her. I really am. Because I've actually had the pleasure of meeting her and did an event with her and took a picture with her and all that. And she was a sweetheart to me. Was she being real? Was she being fake? I don't know. It came across pretty authentic to me. You know, I didn't realize she hated white people. I really didn't. You know, I know that they could flip the script and say, oh, well, you hate black people. I do not hate black people. I love black people. I just have higher expectations and hopes and dreams for black people than what it feels like the black community does. I hold the black community to a higher standard than I feel like the black community holds itself to. So that's why people feel like I hate the black community. I just hate what I've seen happen in segments of the black community, and I hate seeing other segments of the black community who have gotten away from the foolishness defend the foolishness. You know, I find it quite funny that when somebody black moves out of a bad situation, like the city of Jackson, they're heralded. They're celebrated. Look at you getting on up out of him, getting up out the mud. But when white people move away from that foolishness, we're racist, and it's called white flight. But when black people do it, it's moving on up. They'll go to their house for the family reunion. Funny how that works. Anyway, let's get back to Rashonda. Again, personally disappointed in Rashonda. So she lost the election last night. I mean, look, she only won the election, 8 years ago because a couple women neither one would drop out. It split the Republican vote and she snuck in and won. But hey, you winner, chicken dinner. You get it however you get it. So I ain't mad at her how she won it. That's just foolishness on the two ladies that ran, on the Republican that wouldn't either one drop out, or the lady and the guy, I forgot who it was. Good people, but hard-headed. And they were the reason you ended up with Rashonda. And then COVID happened, and it was an absolute dumpster fire in Pelahatchie as this black lady, Democrat black lady, tried to rule through Democrat COVID nonsense and, you know, the national Democrat narrative, lock everything down, face mask, blah, 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 blah. She tried to institute that on a bunch of rednecks. They wasn't having it. Was not having it. And she basically got ran out of town with tiki torches and pitchforks like a scene from Charlottesville. Theoretically. I'm just trying to paint a picture here. So, let's see here. The first screenshot I have is of the scoreboard, so to say, of a whiteboard. And it got some people's names, this, that, and the other. And it says, we did not win. However, I would like to extend my sincere gratitude to everyone who voted for me. I am truly humbled. May God continue to guide and bless you. And I'm not really sure what's going on here it was the different wards and this, that, and the other. Let's see. Rashonda. Well, this don't make good radio, so let me just continue on. Then, after that, she posted, and I met her child. Sweetheart. Again, this lady and her husband were so nice to me, and her child was a sweetheart. This is not personal what we're doing here. But, you know, you put it on social media, we're going to talk about it. When you call the entire town racist, you know, we're going to talk about it. She says, my baby just said, Mama, these people may not love us, but other people do. Then she says, this reminds me of the movie Get Out. That's definitely a movie about racist white people, or the fear that blacks have of white people. Then she says, she just takes the gloves all the way on off. It says, the town of Pelahatchie is racist. And then she says, now these may be a little out of order, but she goes, I watched people today look at the black girls waving and turn their head, their nose, grip the steering wheel, shake their head out the window at children that was just waving with my sign. My baby said, Mama, they are rude here. She witnessed this firsthand as a child. She said, Mama, there is nothing wrong with waving. And I told her it's not. So I want to say something to that. That is not exclusively a reaction to black people, to black politicians. Ma'am, I waved for Fred Shanks, Clay Edwards, the king of Rankin County. That's a joke. That's a joke. But I am well liked out there. I waved for Fred Shanks at the intersection of Highway 471 and Highway 80 and got flipped off, cussed at. We had kids out there too. People who disagree with you politically. Oh, that was by white people, by the way. That's my point. That was my point. All the black folks waved at me. It was the white people that cussed us out. And I say, wait, cussed me out. It wasn't just me. It was just all of us. Women, children, Fred Shanks. And these are people who are pretty dang well respected out in Rankin County. And there's people that are so passionate about Butch Lee that they flipped us off and cussed at us for simply waving. So, look, that is not an exclusive experience that you had because you're black. You got that because people take politics way too seriously. Way too seriously. That actually reminds me of that conversation that we had a while back about how somehow or another black families think that this conversation at their dinner table is exclusive to just them. And that's that conversation they have to have with their children about how to act on a traffic stop. That is, I don't know why black folks think that's an exclusive conversation to just black families. You don't think my parents had that conversation with me? You don't think I've had my ass kicked by a cop on the side of the road because I didn't comply? Why do you think I comply now? Because I got tuned up, son. Brian McCurley, Hinds County Sheriff, rest in peace. Hinds County Deputy Sheriff, rest in peace, Brian McCurley, tuned Clay Edwards up. Foot on the back of my neck, broke my herringbone necklace. Still mad about that. But you know what? I grew, and I ended up having a lot of respect for Brian. He ended up starting an alarm company. I had him put the alarm in my nightclub, Crazy 8, out in Byram. We was friends for a couple of years. He became a cop and immediately started hating me again. But that's life in the big city. I still sent my condolences when he passed away. And I mean it. Point being, ain't nothing exclusive to just black folks. It happens to everybody too. We just don't think it's racisms when it happens to us. I'm disappointed in you. You lose an election and you blame it on racism. No, you lost because you had the job for 4 years and you were an unmitigated disaster. And people just decided they didn't want no more of that. Period. We'll be right back. Let me talk to the men out there listening real quick. Guys, are you suffering from erectile dysfunction, fatigue, decreased muscle tone, lack of energy, low libido, brain fog, sleep disturbances? Hey, low libido, ask your girlfriend or wife. She'll let you know if you're suffering from that or not. That's sex drive. If you'll text my name, Clay, in all caps to 601-327-8550, 601-327-8550, Men's Health of Mississippi and the Clay Edwards Show are going to hook you up with a free testosterone screening. They're located in Madison, Mississippi at 120 Fountains Boulevard. You can check them out online, menshealthms.com. But one more time, text my name, all caps, Clay, to 601-327-8550 and get your free testosterone screening scheduled today. Enjoy the rest of this show. Boom goes the dynamite. It's hour 2 of the most incendiary show on the radio. Even with my GED, I can spell radio. This is the Clay Edwards Show. Welcome back into 103.9 FM WYAB, streaming worldwide and live from the Men's Health and Women's Wellness Studios and streaming online in stunning HD at Save JXN on Facebook, X, YouTube, and Rumble. Let's go to the Mazda of Jackson phone line here, where I believe we've got Mr. Shewaski Young. Shewaski, is that you?
Clay, this is me. How are you this morning?
Brother, I am doing good. Thank you for calling in on time, nonetheless. On time.
Well, I am prompt, sir. I am prompt.
If nothing else. How you doing, my friend?
Yes, sir. Man, I'm doing quite well this morning, enjoying a nice cup of coffee and, still getting some good calls in for all the great work that took place here in Neshoba County yesterday. A lot of folks are happy up here, man. So we're all fun about this thing.
All right, let's talk about it. I'm adding your name to my screen here so people know who I'm talking to. So I sound like I'm multitasking. I am. I called it the Philadelphia Miracle, the Neshoba Shocker. Explain to people exactly what happened and the overturn that happened, and then I'll jump in with a couple questions.
Yeah, man, sure. So basically, right here in Neshoba County, in the municipal elections that we had in Philadelphia yesterday, we've had Democratic control in the city for pretty much quite some time. Even my cousin, who's a great guy, he was pretty much a Democrat conservative. His name was James Young. He was the mayor since 2008. Really had a lot of support by everyone in the city, not just the black community, but also even, the white community as well, too. People loved him. But he was challenged in the primary. They kind of split the ticket there. And, he was beaten, in the Democratic primary. And, we were really concerned about who would be the next mayor of Philadelphia. We had Jim Fulton as our Republican nominee, James Waltman, as our alderman at large, Bert Turcott, Mark Cheatham, and also Kenny Hillman, running for, alderman. Now, we won 4 out of those 5 races last night, so it was a major turnover, especially in the mayoral position in Philadelphia. And it pretty much just, was a big deal, was a big shocker throughout the entire state. And, we're really proud of the work of our candidates and proud of the work that we did at the Neshoba County Republican Party over the course of the last, month and a half leading up until this election, running ads in the newspaper. I participated in ads on our local radio station up there, which is really popular. And also really getting out on the doors, getting on the phones, and really, sending a message to the people of Philadelphia, in Neshoba County that, hey, it doesn't matter, if you're black or white, hey, we want you to vote Republican. We want better schools, safer communities, lower taxes. And that's a message that resonated yesterday. And I believe that's why people responded in such large numbers.
Let me ask this, Shewaski, and I told people early on in the first segment of the show this morning that I didn't know the answer and I hadn't had time to look yet. What is the rate? What I hate asking this question, but whatever. It's black and white sometimes. What are the races of the people that won? Did we get any black conservatives in, or are these all white conservatives that won on the tickets yesterday?
These are all white conservatives. In a
majority black city. So.
88%. Philadelphia is pretty much 88%.
88%.
Absolutely.
Oh man, I had it wrong. I thought somebody sent me 55%, so it's 88% black, and just
it's up there. Yeah, close. No, it's not 50. No.
Somebody sent me 55%. Okay. Hey, look. Either way, that's phenomenal. And it doesn't matter if they were white or black, but it completely negates what I said about that happening here in Jackson and some other cities. And when I said, well, I can't see it happening here, is, you get somewhere like Philadelphia where people do grow up. It's more rural. People do know each other. They actually still know their neighbors up there. And it's a different setup than it is in a more urban area. So that's why I think it would be way harder to pull that off in a Jackson or a Canton even.
Well, absolutely. And let me just, back up, because I definitely don't want to get wrong numbers out there. Put it this way. If 100% of Democrats had turned out to vote and 100% of Republicans had turned out to vote on yesterday, we would have still lost that election by over 20%. That just gives you a stronger idea of how many more Democrats are, in Philadelphia than there are Republicans. And we saw that clear switch over on yesterday.
All right, so I Googled it real quick just so we could be right.
Yeah.
This goes back to the 2020 census. So that's 5 years. White 55.4%. Philadelphia, Mississippi has had a population of some white 55.4, African American 40.12. This is all wrong. So I don't know where they're getting. There's no way that it's majority.
Yeah. No, that's not right.
So anyway,
but either way, we saw a strong turnout yesterday for our conservative candidates. We saw a lot of black folks come out and vote for these white conservative candidates, meaning that they want to see lower crime, they want to see lower taxes, they want to see stronger schools, they want to see better communities. And that's the message that made it such a great win for Republicans.
Well, Shewaski, and I'm just thinking out loud, I didn't mean to step on you, but I want to get this thought in. I was just thinking, in a place with the history that Neshoba County and Philadelphia, Mississippi have when it comes to racial history, for this type of flip to happen as it sits there majority black is incredible. And I think this needs to be studied by the Mississippi GOP as to how y'all managed to pull this off and start looking at flipping some of these smaller rural Democrat cities.
Well, I think it's 100% right, and I think that they will do that. I was in touch with them all day yesterday. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Okay, and I was in touch with them yesterday as we were moving forward, because I'm secretary of the Neshoba County Republican Party, so that history that you're talking about is bred deep, back in the 1960s, my grandfather, Joe Lowndes, was the president of the NAACP, in this county. And he actually built Mount Zion Church, that was burnt down by the KKK during the 1964 Civil Rights Flame. He played a part in, rebuilding that church, and his name is on it right now. So my roots in this community run deep, so I know the people here. It's where I was born and raised. Well, I was born in Meridian, raised here in Gluckstadt as well. And we vote people, not just party here. And I think you saw that yesterday.
Man, look, I woke up to the news this morning. I saw your text. I went to bed a little early last night. I went to bed around 9 o'clock. And so I saw your text when I woke up. My buddy Bruce Bartley that hosts Grip and Grin, he sent me a very similar text. I was like, this is hot. We're talking about this morning. That's when I text you at 6 o'clock. I was like, hey, I know it's early, but would love to have you on this morning. And I appreciate you jumping up and coming on.
I appreciate coming.
I mean, what do you credit it to? Like if you had to narrow it down, and feel free to say what you were going to say, but I wanted to ask, like, if you could narrow it down to one thing or a couple things, like, what do you think really? What was the magic elixir that got this done? I'd be remiss if I didn't ask. Was it quality of candidate on the Democrat side? Was it just old school knocking on doors, politicking? I mean, what do you think it was?
I think one thing that if it was a good old fashioned political campaign, get on the phones, get on the doors. Those candidates were on the doors all the way up until the last ballot, was being cast, and I know that because I was calling, talking to them. And that's one thing. I think the other thing was the build-up, Clay. To be quite honest with you, we ran great ads here, in Neshoba County through our radio station up here. And I even got a call from Mr. Joe Vines last night, who said, appreciate working with us and working with me on the ads, getting the recording and me appearing on the Stu Daddy show. It just goes to the importance of local radio, how important it is. Because here, folks call into that radio station every day to do their trivia. They call in to get the obituaries. They call in to get the local news. And that's where we put our money on for people to get the message out. And the message was this: hey, it doesn't matter who you are. You can vote Republican in this upcoming election. And the second part of that is that even if you're in the county, and I think this was a big one, even if you live in the county, call your friends, call your neighbors that live in the city and make sure they go vote. Now, that's not what Democrats were doing in other places down on the coast this week. They were saying, hey, if you live out in the county, you can go vote in the city, which is illegal and you can't do. We were encouraging people, if you live in the county, to call people who live in the city to make sure they go vote. And I think that the conservative folks here in Philadelphia turned out in really high numbers, and you saw that even with the Facebook reactions, and you saw that in the votes yesterday.
Let me ask you, you mentioned Facebook, and I'm glad you did. Do you think, I know the answer, but I just want to have this conversation. Do you think too many candidates have gotten comfortable just doing social media? And I'm a former event promoter. Heck, I'm still an event promoter and a promoter of myself and my product and my radio show. And I think so many people have gotten really comfortable with having quote unquote access to 5,000, 10,000, 50,000 timelines, that they think that's all they got to do is social media. And look, and that may work great for selling T-shirts.
Yeah.
But for politicking and doing real life business, I think you got to get back out and look people in the eye and shake people's hands and have real conversations. And I think the Republican Party, what I've been told when I talk to people in urban areas or high Democrat areas, whatever, is, man, we ain't seen a Republican here before. And I know since Mike Hurst has taken over the Mississippi GOP, I know you got Rance Bilbo and them going and setting up tents and tables at events at JSU and other HBCUs. And they're hearing the same message. You're the first Republican we've ever seen here.
Right. Well, I'll tell you what, that's 100% correct. Look, there's nothing that's ever going to be good old-fashioned peer-to-peer, voter-to-voter engagement. That means phone calls. That means actual knocking on doors. That means actually engaging with people in the community on a daily basis. Every chance that you get, you're never turned off. You know, it's just like that old saying, say, yard signs don't equate to votes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Facebook likes do not equate to votes. So, you know, that hard work, you know, like I said, those candidates were out there yesterday, knocking on doors until the last, you know, ballot was cast. And I know that because I was told them, asking them. And that is how I think we win elections more in Mississippi, in these places that we need to be able to flip. Places like Jackson, you know, obviously we saw Horn, you know, win in Jackson yesterday. And, you know, we also saw, you know, that's what people are going to just end up deciding, no matter how much connection that is connected to the old way of doing things. That's what people chose to want. Now, unless in the next 4 years there is some type of, you know, movement into Jackson to change the voter pool, then we'll probably continue to see that, you know. And I don't know how Senator Horn is going to be able to work with the state legislature to help Jackson, but we'll see and how they respond to it.
It's going to be interesting. I don't know if you were able to listen to any of the first hour of the show, but I brought that up. I said, so I think Chokwe was so bad at what he did or so radical or whatever, but it just seemed like he insisted on swimming upstream the entire 8 years he was there, trying to just reinvent the wheel. For 100 years, people have turned right to get to a location. He decided to see what would happen if he would turn left at every opportunity. And it proved that it didn't work. And so I've said, Shewaski, that whoever ends up in that seat, the next mayor, if they'll just quit doing the wrong things right for 4 years, the city will autocorrect to an extent. Now, is it going to grow and flourish and become the bold new city it once was with that mentality? Absolutely not. But I think that Horn's going to look phenomenal if he'll just quit doing the wrong things right for the first couple of years. And then we're going to see is he a visionary? Can he convince economic developments to come back to the city and all of that good stuff? Can he work with the legislature and get money? We're going to find out. And that's going to be where, in the next 3 or 4, where we start to really see, is he the man for the job long term?
Well, I agree with you 100% because my number one eye that's going to be on Jackson is his ability to, one, work with the state legislature, and two, of course, simultaneously, would be his ability to attract business and manufacturing into the city of Jackson to create jobs. We can have a Mississippi miracle of economic progress around the entire state, and our own capital city is not part of that.
100%.
Right? And I think that's something that's going to, be eyes on him. And but hey, he gets the opportunity. I think, Chokwe's last day is what? What is that going to be in?
July 3rd, 2nd or 3rd?
June? Yeah, so, hey, he'll be sworn in pretty soon, and we'll get to see how he starts things off, but at the end of the day, Jackson deserves a leader who can work with our state legislature, because the last leader that was there, nobody had respect for him. Nobody wanted to work with him. And just being a rebel rouser to be a rebel rouser is not going to help the people of Jackson. It's certainly not going to invite business.
Yeah, look, nobody has, I won't say nobody. These guys over here at this radio station have done equally what I have when it comes to calling these politicians out. So I don't want to say nobody, but nobody outside of this radio station has done more here locally to try to hold these politicians accountable. And even me, Mr. Clay Edwards, Mr. Negative Jackson negativity over here, I've said that I'm going to call a truce to whoever wins or replaces Chokwe. I'm going to take the gloves. I'm going to put the gloves on, take them, whatever you want to call it. I'm going to take it easy on them for a little bit and give them time to
They
find.
should come on your show.
Yeah, they need to come on the show.
He should come on your show.
They should. I'm gonna give them time to find out where the bathroom's at, and figure some things out, get settled in before I start going scorched earth on them about everything. I want to see what they're going to do with policing and just the basic ABCs of running a city: infrastructure, education, and policing. Let's get a look at
100%.
that and go from there. Shewaski, let's get you
100%.
back here in the studio soon, man. I know we're going to be approaching that timeline where it's going to be time for you to make a decision what you're going to do. I ain't forgot about you.
Hey, man. Thanks, man.
I ain't forgot about you.
I'm looking forward. I'm looking forward to coming back down there, man. I'll tell you that.
All right, brother. Look, man, great work up there. Let's get together, grab lunch or something soon next time you're in Jackson. Because I really do want to hear, kind of the inner workings, the mechanics of how y'all were able to do this. Because I'm excited about it, and I think a blueprint was designed last night or in the run up to last night for how to make this happen in Mississippi. It really reminds me a lot, and I'll let you go on this. It reminds me of when that evil Westboro Baptist Church came to Rankin County about 12, 13 years ago, and they've been going and protesting all these military funerals around the country, and nobody could stop them. The blueprint was designed for how to stop them in Rankin County, and you hadn't heard from them since. And I think something very similar happened in Neshoba in Philadelphia. Leading up to last night, a blueprint was designed and laid out for a plan to start flipping some of these rural areas, and I'm really curious to see how it plays out moving forward. Shewaski Young, congratulations on your hard work. Thank you for your hard work, and look forward to talking to you again soon. Yes, sir.
All about the people. All right, man. Have a great day, and thanks for having me.
Yeah, appreciate you. Shewaski Young, former Democrat turned conservative. A lot of people questioned. A lot of people questioned, was he the real deal? Was he just a grifter? Was he just trying to take advantage of an opportunity to come in Mississippi and be the black conservative, kind of be the token black conservative? Whether that's true or not, it paid dividends last night. And we are glad to have him on our team with what he was able to do up there in Neshoba and in Philadelphia. Great work, Shewaski Young. Welcome to the home team, my friend. We'll be right back on the Clay Edwards Show. Let's give out an FAFO championship real quick before we go to the break. Your FAFO champion number one of the day is a fella, speaking of Canton, Mississippi. This guy thought it would be a good idea to run from Gluckstadt police and run towards Canton, to the criminal safe haven of Canton, Mississippi. A lot like Jackson. But contraire mon frere, what they have in Canton is the Madison County Sheriff's Department. So let's read this real quick. Which may or may not have anything to do with this. I hadn't even read this. I just saw the picture, and it was the first name. I saw it. I saw the amount of vowels, and I just knew guilty. Anyway, and I'm going to try to pronounce this name. And I would love to know what his street name is, because there ain't no way in two blue hells that anybody actually calls this guy by his full government name. This is from darkhorsepress.com. Actually, both of our FAFO stories today are from Dark Horse Press and Therese Apel. It says a man named Rodriquez Tyrell Pinson. Now, how many vowels does Rodriquez have in it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 vowels in his first name. He's a serial killer. Potentially. Rodriquez Tyrell Pinson was taken into custody last night in Canton, criminal safe haven, Canton, Mississippi, following a brief foot pursuit behind the Econo Lodge. Well, that's a headline you really don't ever want your name attached to. Gluckstadt police said Pinson fled on foot after abandoning a maroon Ford F350 during a pursuit with officers. Without reading any more, I'm going to go out on a limb here and bet that F350 was stolen. He was quickly located and transported to the Hilton there on 51 in Canton, a.k.a. the Madison County Detention Center. Pinson is facing multiple charges, including felony eluding, receiving stolen property, resisting arrest, improper tag, and careless driving. All right, so I will have to rescind my thoughts about the truck being stolen. I bet it wasn't his. Anyway, he's scheduled to make his initial appearance on these charges today in Gluckstadt Municipal Court. Madison County Sheriff's Office and Canton Police also helped with the arrest. That, my friends, is your first, but not only, effed around and found out grand champion of the day. The next one's going to be a white guy. That's right. It's all about equality over here. Inclusivity, equality, and diversity. We cover all the bases here on the Clay Edwards Show. We'll be right back. Live from the Men's Health and Women's Wellness Studios of Mississippi on WYAB. This is the Clay Edwards Show. I titled today's show The Great White Nope. And that was, in my opinion, because I think this will be the death knell. I mean, it won't be, because there's always going to be that guy who thinks he can do it. This should be the death knell for white guys trying to run for mayor, frankly, any seat. I think Ashby Foote will be the last white male to win anything. Did another white male win one of the city council seats last night? Generally speaking, in the next 4 years, that will be the last white male. But, sorry, I was trying to answer the phone here real quick. Mr. Dixon, I'm putting you on hold real quick. These white guys that think they can win in Jackson and Chip in Canton, I told Chip this to his face, so I'm not talking behind his back here. Y'all got to stop. Y'all got to stop. You're not going to win. And it's not a knock at you. It's not. It's the demographics. Black folks ain't voting for white folks in cities like that. Now, this is what happened up in Neshoba in Philadelphia, a little more rural. Folks tend to all know each other, a little different situation. But in a urban base like Jackson, like Canton, where crime has gotten as bad as it's gotten, they just ain't doing it, man. Democrat death culture got that death grip on them. Let's take a call from Mr. Dixon, and I'll pick my thought back up on the other side of this on the Mazda Jackson phone line. Hey, Dixon.
Brother Clay, how you doing this morning?
Man, I'm doing good. We got rid of Chalkway. That's all I care about.
Yeah, but you got to look at it like this. With Mr. Horn's election, all this means is the suburbs are going to continue to thrive. Because you got to admit one fact. Yeah, you know about demographics and, you know, the black voting and their loyalty to the Democratic Party. But you can't overlook the number of whites in positions of power with resources that back Mr. Horn. And we got to ask ourselves, why? I mean, if you were serious about wanting to save Jackson, we should have gone in a different direction, and we didn't.
Well,
because
let me ask you
was
this.
for keeping Jackson going in the same direction.
Who should they have put it behind?
It wasn't Mr. Horn. Let's just put it like that. I was not a supporter of Mr. Horn.
No, me either. But, you know, I guess they just looked at him as the least offensive, maybe somebody they could control. You know, I don't know. But, you know, I mean, I would have put it behind Kim Wade.
Part of it because, you know, Mr. Wade has alluded to this as well. The money and the country club set love John Horn. And see, the question to be asked is why? And from my vantage point, if you live in Madison, Gluckstadt, Pearl, Brandon, you wanted John Horn to be the mayor of Jackson. Because if we had gone in a different direction, guess what would have happened to the resources that are going in those cities right now? It would have been arrested, and some of it may would have been reinvested in Jackson, where I think it should be. So we got to ask ourselves why so many whites supported John Horn and what their ultimate objective is.
You know, one of the things.
Keep up the good work and stay blessed.
Thanks, Dixon. I was getting static every time I talked there. I don't know if that was coming through the line or not, but it was definitely coming through my earbuds or headphones. Look, to Dixon's point, and I was talking to somebody about this last night. A lot of people go into this, and I think I heard Sean talking about this last night on their live stream. All the whites ain't voting for the white people. You know, it's like that's not how this works. So it's like there's like this assumption, and I've pointed this out multiple times. There's this assumption that when a white guy runs, or when a Kim Wade runs that has a lot of white support, that just automatically and I'm not saying Kim thought this, but I just mean people think this, that all the white people are just going to automatically vote for that person, that pro-law and order person, that person with conservative values and whatnot. And I'm just going to tell you, as white folk, we don't necessarily consider a lot of the majority of, not all, because I got some friends that live in Fondren and Belhaven that are not part of the cult. But for the most part, and this is the way it's been my entire life. Like I said, I was in Jackson for 43 of my 47 years. We might be skin folk, but we ain't kin folk with the Fondren and Belhaven white. We just not, for the majority. Those are white liberals. Those are not normal white folks. And we just ain't all the same. Just like blacks, generally speaking, don't like black conservatives. Y'all call them Uncle Toms and Coons and all that crap. Well, that's how we feel about white liberals. See? Same thing, but different. So now you understand. Did I put it in words that you can easily comprehend? So if you're going to run a race and you're just looking at the numbers, you say, all right, so if I get all the white vote and, I get the blacks that are tired of this crap, I got a path. No, you don't, because the majority of those whites hate you. It doesn't matter what color you are. If you have an R or an I by your name, because they know if you're white and you're running as an independent, you're a Republican. Stop the foolishness. Stop the foolishness. If you thought you could beat, if you were a Democrat and you thought you could beat whoever wins the Democrat primary, why can't you just beat them in the primary instead of waiting to the general and trying to run as an independent, try to pull the wool over people's eyes? I mean, just stop with the foolishness. So I made a quick list of people who ain't never going to win a race around here. Not names. You can pick the names you want. And I did tell Chip, I was like, you got to stop with the foolishness. I mean, man, look, I love Chip. He got less than 200 votes yesterday. It's time to refocus your energy somewhere else, somewhere you may be able to be more useful, maybe behind the scenes, something, because it's not on the ballot. And that goes for a lot of these people, these habitual people who like to constantly run races just to be involved. And it's a bad look for you. And I just feel like after a while you start to lose credibility when every election cycle you lose by more and more and more. This doesn't change anything about Chip and mine's friendship, but sometimes it's tough love. You keep people around you that tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. But I made a little list here of people or types of people that need to stop, just need to stop. So here's the folks that ain't never winning another election around here. White guys or girls running as an independent or Republican in Jackson mayoral races. A Democrat has about the same odds of winning, but the blacks have been following the white liberals off a cliff for about 60 years, so never say never. 2, straight white guys running for any seat in Jackson. Ashby Foote will be the last. Now, I will say that Fondren Belhaven area may put a member of the Alphabet Soup Mafia, the Rainbow Supremacy, on the city council. That would not surprise me. They want their, air quotes in the studio, representation. So I will say that a gay white of some sort, trans, pansexual, autosexual, something like that, could possibly get a city council seat. Like I said, Ashby Foote will be the last straight white male to win a seat there. I mean, it looks like he's holding on by the hair on his hind for his seat right now. Other people that need to stop. And I've seen this since I've been here at WYB. And again, no disrespect personally. This is tough love with Clay Edwards. You white people that keep running against Benny Thompson, stop. We got enough of a sample size. We know they redrew that district. You're not going to win it. If maybe you need to move out to Rankin Trial, you got a better chance of unseating Michael Guest than you do Benny Thompson. It ain't going to happen. Just like no black Democrat is going to come out there and unseat Michael Guest. They really don't even try. Let's see here. Number 4, same rules apply to anybody running for any seat in Canton. We already covered that. Number 5, within the next 8 years, I predict same rules will apply to every Hinds County municipality, including Clinton and especially Byram, which I do know that Richard White won his seat again last night, and I predict in 4 years that will not be the case. He will not win his seat again. But sometimes you get these mayors. There's a caveat there. Sometimes you get these mayors who the community just likes, and they will keep one for a long time. So once we get on the other side of Richard White and he decides not to run or he finally loses, like McMillan, like what happened with McMillan, that will be it. That will be the last white mayor of Byram. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with black mayors. I'm just talking about from a sheer racial demographic standpoint here. And then number 6, last but not least, grassroots candidate running against any seated politician in the state. A grassroots candidate has not beat a single statewide or congressional politician since I've been doing this. And I'm going to guess ever. We'll be right back on the Clay Edwards Show. The hour break here. We were talking about candidates that just need to stop. Stop running. Figure out a better way to use your time and your energy. And like, what can you do to better the situation other than run for office? There's plenty that can be done. Plenty that can be done. How about get behind a candidate that has a chance of winning? You know, like, look, when I was in Jackson, I didn't want to vote Democrat, but I did because I knew that you had to get behind one that better suited your needs, that better suited your goals. That don't mean I enjoy doing it. It was truly pick your poison, but sometimes you're better off getting behind one that you feel can help accomplish things. Be a king maker. You don't have to be the king. Sometimes more power comes with that. But that's just something I've seen here a lot. You know, you start seeing these folks, man, that run for they every 2 years they're running for something. Board of Aldermen, county supervisor, mayor. And I respect it. I'm not, I don't want to sound like I'm being disrespectful to the people that get out there and run a lot. But there's got to be a better use of your time than being a habitual election loser. It just does. There's got to be something else you can do where it's more resourceful and more beneficial to you and to the people you want to help. I mean, a lot can be done from somewhere other than office. I mean, like Chip, for example. He's a rising star here at WYAB. Continue to use the platform to expose what's going on in Canton and other places without it looking like it's self-serving because you want to be in office. Because that's how it can come across to some people. Not to say I'm woefully better or anything, but I use this platform to get rid of Chokwe with no intentions on running for office. Mission accomplished. Now, obviously, I did not do that by myself, but continue to shine a negative light on what was going on in Jackson, and enough people finally woke up, and enough other media outlets could no longer stick their head in the sands and pretend it wasn't going on. You have good people like Kim Wade. I legitimately, and maybe I'm going to completely contradict myself here, but I legitimately thought Kim Wade would have a chance to win mayor of Jackson. I truly did. Unfortunately, enough money didn't get behind him and a few other things. And I honestly believe that Chokwe losing in the primaries made it incredibly difficult for whoever was waiting on the other side of the Democrat primary. It was going to make it extremely difficult for them to win, whether it was Kim Wade, Zach Service, Rodney DePriest, or it could have been Donald Trump. It was going to be very difficult for them to beat whoever beat Chokwe, because it kind of felt like, man, look, the dragon's already slayed. This is the safe bet. I'm just going to continue to ride this horse that is John Horn. We got rid of Chokwe. Mission accomplished. Now, had Chokwe won a close primary, I think everybody could have huddled up and got behind an independent candidate, a conservative, whatever, and maybe they had a chance to really beat Chokwe in the general. But I think that people just felt like the work had been done once Chokwe got destroyed in the general, and got destroyed the way he did, not even winning the precinct, bro. It was over. I mean, look, we in media got to try to make it interesting because it gives us something to talk about. But I know, he knows, she know, everybody know it was over. I know I predicted Rodney DePriest would win yesterday. I hate to be Captain Obvious here. I was kidding. I literally just done a show the day before when I have video proof saying that no white person's ever going to win mayor of Jackson. Could we stop this foolishness? But I did hedge my bets a little just in case. Let's take a break. We'll be right back on WYAB. Real quick, completely unrelated, tell a quick story. And I want to give an apology somewhat. Generically. My girlfriend's son and his friends were out playing a couple days ago, one late afternoon, and they brought in what I thought was a mouse, a rat or something. And it ended up being a tiny, tiny, tiny newborn kitten that had somehow strayed away from its mother. I mean, it couldn't be 2 days old, 3 days old. I mean, tiny. And they tried to nurse it back to health and stuff over the last couple of days. And finally last night, I was like, guys, what are we going to do with this kitten here? We got it in a little crate with a blanket and some milk and all this stuff. And really proud of them, for trying, having a big heart and trying to save this kitten. Really, really proud of them. Because, there's some mentally ill kids out there that kill kittens and stuff like that. And, they usually end up turning into serial killers. So whenever they do the complete opposite and they want to nurse them back to health, very, very proud of the kiddos when they do stuff like that. But I was like, hey, what's the plan here? Because clearly we're not veterinarians and, I just don't have an endless amount of money where I can just afford to take this thing to the vet and pay to nurse it back to health. The way my bank account's set up, it's just not, it's just that it doesn't work quite like that. Especially when you got 2 dogs and a cat already. So I made a post on Facebook, kind of off asking for some assistance or what we could do. And somebody, I believe, tagged a lady by the name, we'll call her Miss Julie. I don't like giving people's last names out here. Miss Julie. And she reached out to me, a retired lady. Mentioned that she's a grandmother. She's like, I can meet you now. She lives out in the Spillway Road area of Rankin County, side of the reservoir. I live in Brandon, so it's an easy meet there. We met at the Shell station there on 471 in Baker Lane. Shout out to those folks. The Singh family owns that gas station. I think it's a Fuel Time. One of my favorite gas stations. Love the crew that works there. Great folks. Just thought I'd plug them real quick. So shout out to everybody there at the Baker Lane Shell. But this lady took the kitten from us. She brought a bottle with it with cat milk, and she's gonna nurse it back to health. She was actually impressed with how good of a job that my girlfriend's 12-year-old son and she had done keeping it alive. And so I just want to give a shout out to that lady and just the generosity of people to take a complete strange animal that somebody else found. And she's going to nurse this thing back to health. She's done this before. She actually does this, kind of like it's her calling, so to say. And just reminded me, man, there's so many good people out there. And I know I hear it a lot from my detractors. Why don't you talk about positive stuff? Why don't you tell good stories? Well, I don't always have good stories to tell because most of my stories that I tell are in my day-to-day life and things that I see. So it really hit me a little bit last night. Just, we saved a kitten. And I know on the surface level, it doesn't sound very, very manly. Oh, you saved a kitten. Well, you know what? That's what men do. We save things. We do the things that others won't. Anyhow. So I just want to give a shout out to Miss Julie there and to other folks like Miss Julie. And Miss Julie is a cat lady. She has, I think, 4 or 5 cats, a dog, several dogs. I think she said she had 2 German Shepherds. So she's an animal person. But it did get me to thinking, kind of on a funny note. We made fun of cat ladies a pretty good bit during the election cycle. And there are a lot of crazy cat ladies out there. Most of them are on X, and they have their profile picture is of a cat. Usually if somebody's profile picture is a cat, they're a crazy person, as I've learned, especially if they want to discuss politics. But calling a truce for now with just the cat ladies out there, especially conservative cat ladies. If I offended you with any of my cat lady comments, I apologize. I met I don't know this lady's politics or anything, but she was a sweetheart. and she took that cat from us, and she's nursing it back to health, and she's going to keep us posted on it. And she does something really neat when she does these adoptions or these rescues. She nurses these animals to health, and she keeps kind of a log of it, who she got it from. She gives the story of the cat to the person, and she'll make a post, and I told her she could use my name if she wanted to. I didn't mind. So I just thought that was really cool. That's this lady's calling, is to rescue cats. I don't know if she does dogs or not, but I know she does cats. And she told me a story that she's like, you'd be so shocked how some people can be. Like, you're doing them kind of the favor of taking this cat and rescuing it that they found, or whatever the case may be. And she's like, I had to go to Vicksburg one time and pick up some cats because they wanted me to get them, but they didn't want to bring them to me. I was like, it's almost like they think you're doing them they think they're doing you a favor by giving you the cat versus you doing them the favor and saving the cat. But that's the society we live in today. But it was nice to meet somebody like that, a complete stranger, didn't know me from Adam, don't know she knows I have the radio show or any of that stuff. And like I said, met her at the gas station. She was an absolute sweetheart. And it's just nice to know that there's still people out there like that. And I don't know if that story inspires anybody or anything, but I wanted to tell it, kind of shift gears a little bit around here. And it really did. It was a little stories and people like that come in your life at the right times for different reasons. And every now and then I get a little disgusted with humanity. And I start just kind of wanting to throw the whole baby out with the bathwater and just start over. So it's good to run across people that have pure hearts and good hearts like that. They just want to do that because it's the right thing to do. So shout out to Miss Julie this morning, and to anybody and everybody that also reached out to me in my Facebook post about how to take care of the kitten. I learned more about how to take care of newborn kittens last night than I ever wanted to. But we did get an update because, when a cat's only a couple days old, or I don't know how long or how old this lasts, but you have to feed them, and then you have to kind of make them go to the bathroom. You have to kind of pat their private areas with a napkin or something. But she has a Siamese. She let me know she has a Siamese that is handling that. The cat is handling those duties. I want the cat's licking the cat and handling those duties. Anyway, the 12-year-old boy never goes away. All right, let's take a break. When we come back, it's Men's Mental Health Awareness Month. I want to talk about that and much more. Paint me shocked. The Pride Month nut jobs, the rainbow supremacists, are mad that they're having to share their month with men. But little do they know, we're not sharing it. We took June back. It's no longer Pride Month. That's a myth. That doesn't happen anymore. We don't do that anymore. Not under MAGA. No more. We're done. America is done playing these rainbow games. We'll talk about that and more. This is the Clay Edwards Show on 103.9 FM, WYAB. If you're watching online, hit that share button. Drop a comment. Let's have a good time today on WYAB and wherever else you're watching. I put something together this morning. I was in there writing this, and I made a video, put it on. I want to do it on the show. I want to read this on the show this morning because I think it's really relevant. And this is about D-Day. And I think it's very prevalent today, June 6, 2025, as much so as it was on June 6, 1944. America, it's June 6, 2025, and we're marking 81 years since D-Day, when the greatest generation hit Normandy's beaches to smash Nazi tyranny and save the free world. Let's go back to 1944. Omaha, Utah, Juneau, where the heroes from every walk of life faced hell together. Picture this, if you will. Black and white troops from Mississippi. Men who back home might have been on opposite sides of the civil rights struggle, standing shoulder to shoulder in the surf, dodging bullets, dragging each other to cover. Out there, it didn't matter. In my rock voice, it doesn't matter if you were a Delta sharecropper son or a plantation heir. It didn't matter what church you knelt in, who you loved, or what grudges you carried stateside. All that mattered was the guy next to you was ready to fight and maybe die for the only flag that counted then and the only flag that counts today. The one that's over my shoulders, both shoulders, because I got two in the studio, the red, the white, the blue, the American flag. Those Mississippi boys, black and white, they weren't arguing segregation or voting rights when the shells rained down. They were one team bleeding the same red blood for the stars and stripes. That flag wasn't just a symbol. It was their promise to each other, to their country, to freedom itself. Catholic, Baptist, Protestant, Jew, atheist, no one cared. Skin color, background, sexual preference, none of it meant a damn thing when the mission was to keep Old Glory flying over a world worth saving. Today, with division creeping into every corner of our lives, let's take a lesson from those D-Day warriors. They showed us what unity looks like. Men from opposite sides of the world, like those Mississippi troops, fighting as one for the flag that binds us. The American flag stood for something bigger then, and it still does now. Let's honor their sacrifice by standing together, no matter our differences, under the red, white, and blue. It's the only flag that mattered in 1944, and it's the only one that matters today. Stay proud, stay united, stay true to the red, the white, the blue. I like that. I like that. I got to thinking about that this morning on the way in, how to articulate that. And I was really thinking more along the lines of all these people flying these flags from different countries around here, flying that damn rainbow flag. You want to talk about fatigue? Yes, I do have black fatigue or ghetto fatigue or whatever we've decided to call it to not offend a certain group of people. You know what other fatigue I have, probably more so than any of it? That damn rainbow fatigue. Oh, I got rainbow fatigue. Sure do. And shout out to the Supreme Court yesterday for the ruling that basically says that reverse discrimination is, the same thing as discrimination. You can't discriminate against somebody because they're not gay or because they're not a minority. So y'all told me this stuff wasn't happening. Clay, that don't happen. That don't happen, Clay. Well, the Supreme Court obviously thought it was happening. Just like y'all tell me reverse racism ain't happening. Actually, you're right about that. Reverse racism is not happening because just like discrimination, there's no such thing as reverse discrimination. There's just discrimination and there's just racism. And it can, in fact, happen. There's a certain level of really dumb minority around here that like to get into this argument of, am I a racist or am I a bigot? There's, you can't be a racist because you don't own nothing. You can't stop me from doing anything. Oh, so I'm a bigot? I mean, make your mind up. I thought everything was racist. I was almost offended at that point that I wasn't a racist. What do you mean I don't control anything? I control everything. Anyway, I swear I don't want a war. It's the last thing I want. I am anti-war like a 1960s hippie. But sometimes in my mind, I think we need a great reset like that comes from the kind of reset that comes from a lot of lives being lost, a struggle that forces us to come together. Sean and I talked about this a lot. If 9/11 happened in 2025, if 9/11 happened on September 11th, 2025, there would be no George Bush standing on the rubble or shouting, the people that brought these buildings down are going to hear all of us soon. And America erupting in cheers, regardless of what side of it you were on, Democrat, Republican, black, white, Muslim. That moment couldn't happen now. We'd all run to the internet. Who did the pilots vote for? Who did they support in the last election? Doing forensic audits of all their social media posts, trying to figure out if they were pro-Trump, pro-Biden, Hillary, Obama, anything. So we could point the finger at one another. That's all we would do today. It would just tear a country further apart, even if it was done by an enemy, not from here. Because we would find a way to attach that enemy to our enemy, each other. So I don't know that there's any event that could pull the country together, except maybe a world war, where we were forced to fight for our existence. And I think that may be coming sooner than we think, but maybe not in the traditional World War sense. It could be us versus them damn robots and computers. I honestly, I truly didn't know that Terminator was going to be a warning, not fiction. Kind of like 1984 ended up being a documentary, not a fictional movie. All right, let's take our first break. We'll open the phone lines up when we come back. Let's talk about Elon, talk about Trump. I kind of said all I wanted to say, but we can run it back and take a deeper dive into it. I would like to get you all's input on it. The Guns and Gear text line, 769-241-1944. The Mazda of Jackson phone line, 601-879-0002. We are broadcasting live in the Men's Health and Women's Wellness Studios. With a war coming, men, you're going to need their testosterone levels ready to go as high as they can be. You need to text my name, text Clay to 601-327-8550. If you're suffering from fatigue, decreased muscle tone, lack of energy, low libido, that's your sex drive, brain fog, sleep disturbances, or lack of the morning wood, you, my friends, could be suffering from low testosterone. Get Scott McCullough or Michael Walker to help you out today at Men's Health of Mississippi, located on Fountains Boulevard right there in Madison. One last time, text Clay, 601-327-8550. Don't forget, we'll be broadcasting live out there this upcoming Tuesday, doing a on-site testosterone screening drive. How many of y'all want to come out, meet me, meet the crew, and get your testosterone checked for free? We'll be out there Tuesday. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. All right. There's no way to pivot from that other than just do it. So let's do that. Trump and Elon yesterday. Elon lost his mind. But it does appear that he woke up this morning after his Molotov cocktail of ketamine and Adderall and whatever else he's on, allegedly, of course, wore off. Bill Ackman posted, I support real Donald Trump and Elon Musk, and they should make peace for the benefit of our great country. We are much stronger together than apart. Elon replied and says, you're not wrong. You know, unfortunately for Elon, he took the nuclear option yesterday and accused Donald Trump of being a pedophile. You don't get to do that. There's no coming back from that. You don't get to do that. You know, you can call me a lot of things and I can forgive you. That's not going to be one of them. Trump should absolutely not forgive Elon. But that doesn't mean you can't bury the hatchet for the greater good and work together. But Elon is definitely he has put himself outside the circle of trust when you say stuff like that. Now, let's go back a little bit here to what I said in the very first segment of the show, and I kind of got to addressing this a little bit anyway. Look, I haven't got to hear many people's thoughts and opinions on it, so you're getting just my thoughts and opinions on this, and that they haven't been adulterated by anybody else. I haven't been influenced by anybody else's thoughts and opinions because I just haven't had a chance to listen to anybody on this. But my initial thoughts are this. You're going to have a bunch of people that say, oh, they're playing 4D chess. Look, Trump didn't agree to be accused of being on Epstein Island as part of this 4D chess. You don't do that. You're the president of the United States. You don't agree to have one of the most famous men and the most richest man and the smartest man in the world accuse you of being on Epstein Island. you don't sign up for that. So anybody that thinks that this is some 4D chess move, put the meth pipe down this morning. Put the QAnon meth down. This ain't QAnon, this ain't Blue Anon. Well, there may be Blue Anon, but it ain't QAnon. Just stop. That ain't what's going on here. Elon effed up. Elon got in his feelings over the big, beautiful bill. And there's some other stuff leaking too, that may have something to do with it. And thank you to Brad for sending me this. Steve Bannon told the Daily Mail that Musk's turbulent time in the White House was marred when he physically shoved 62-year-old Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent after he was confronted over wild promises to save the administration $1 trillion. Scott Bessent called him out and said, quote, "You promised us $1 trillion in cuts, and now you're at like $100 billion, and nobody can figure anything. And nobody can find anything. What are you doing?" The prominent MAGA figure revealed, and that's when Elon got physical. It's a sore subject with him. It wasn't an argument. It was a physical confrontation. Elon basically shoved him. And then Elon went to X yesterday and posted, I don't know, hundreds of texts. The memes and jokes have been crazy. But my opinion is this. Elon's got too much to lose. The Democrats now don't like him. Now MAGA don't like him. But MAGA is more forgivable than the Democrats. I think they will find a happy medium here somewhere in all this. Look, there's a part of me that thought this was going to be inevitable. And, of course, Elon also came out and said that Trump wouldn't have gotten elected without him. Look, I don't know. It didn't hurt. It definitely didn't hurt. Elon did a whole lot to help. Now, did Elon supporting Trump directly and spending money, did that help? I don't know. I think Trump getting shot sealed the deal. And the work that Charlie Kirk and that crew did, and what's the other guy's name that helped flip Pennsylvania? I think all the work they did played a huge role in this. But I would be foolish if I suggested that Elon didn't help some. But I think Elon buying Twitter is what helped win Donald Trump the election, not necessarily his support. But again, it didn't hurt. And here's the other thing, too. If Elon really thought that Trump was a pedo, why did he let his little young son X or Z or whatever his name is, Pi, spend so much time around Trump by himself? There's lots of pictures and videos of Elon's kid following Trump around with Elon nowhere in sight. So you think that Trump's a pedo, but it's okay to leave him around your kid? Come on, man. But I'll say this. I do think, whether it was, again, I don't believe the 4D chess crap. I like a good conspiracy theory, but they got to be based in reality, and that's not based in reality. That's like people who believe that we didn't go to the moon, just nut jobs. But it does, in my opinion, force the Trump administration to release the Epstein documents now. Okay. And I don't want to hear anything from the media or the left about this. Y'all haven't wanted the Epstein documents released. Y'all have had no interest in the Epstein documents being released on any level as far as your mainstream left-wing media outlets go. Nobody's wanted the Epstein documents released except people on the internet and a couple of people at Fox News. So y'all just sit over in your corner and continue to mind your own business. Y'all are the reason that hotels have chairs in the corner. Cucks. Anyway. So what I hope comes out of this is we get all the Epstein documents released. The list. Release the list. I don't care if Epstein killed himself or not. Speaking of that, Dan Bongino and Kash Patel, it's time to put up or shut up. They need to quit talking. Stop. Stop talking. And Pam Bondi, too. Stop talking to the media. You make yourselves look like idiots, which in turn make people who have supported y'all look like idiots. I'll call my side out. If Trump is on that Epstein list, lock his ass up. But lock everybody else up on it too. That's my thoughts on that. Let's take our last break of the first hour here. Top of hour 2, in studio, Mike Watkins. We're chopping it up about the medical marijuana industry here on a Friday on the Clay Edwards Show.